Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another read along session with me. So, today we're going to start chapter 14 from the old NCERTs by Satish Chandra. The chapter's name is The Deccan and South India up to 1656. So, without wasting further time, let's get started. We've mentioned in an earlier chapter that following the breakup of the Bahmani kingdom, three powerful states, Ahmednagar, Bijapur, and Golconda, emerged in the scene and that they combined to crush Vijayanagar at the Battle of Bannihatti near Talikota in 1565. After the victory, the Deccani is usually called Dakkani states, resumed their old ways. Both Ahmednagar and Bijapur claimed Sholapur, which was a rich and fertile tract. Sholapur is currently a city in modern Maharashtra. Neither wars nor marriage alliances between the two could resolve the issue. Both the states had the ambition of conquering Bidar. These states which had this ambition were Ahmednagar and Bijapur. Okay, so Ahmednagar also wanted to annex Berar in the north. In fact, as the descendants of the old Bahmani rulers, Nizam Shah's claim claimed a superior, if not a hegemonistic position in the Deccan. Their claim was contested not only by Bijapur but also by the rulers of Gujarat, who had their eyes on the rich Konkan area. In addition to Berar, the Gujarat rulers against actively aided Berar against Ahmednagar and even engaged in a war against Ahmednagar in order that the existing balance of power in the Deccan was not upset. Bijapur and Golconda clashed over the possession of Nal Durg. So basically, what we can understand is the Bahmani kingdom broke into three powerful states, which is Ahmednagar, Bijapur, and Golconda. They had their own different dynamics going on, and they were contesting for different sites, which they felt as more powerful, or they felt as which could add more value to their empire. Anyways, going on, the Mughal conquest of Gujarat in 1572 created a new situation. The conquest of Gujarat could have been a prelude to the Mughal conquest of the Deccan, but Akbar was busy elsewhere and did not want at that stage to interfere in the Deccan affairs. Ahmednagar took advantage of the situation to annex Berar. In fact, Ahmednagar and Bijapur came to an agreement whereby Bijapur was left free to expand its dominions in the south at the expense of Vijayanagar, while Ahmednagar overran Berar. Golconda too was interested in extending its territories at the cost of Vijayanagar. All the Deccani states were thus expansionists. Okay, this is a key term, expansionist. Another feature of the situation was the growing importance of the Marathas in the affairs of Deccan. As we have seen, the Maratha troops had always been employed as loose auxiliaries or bargis, usually called bargis, in the Bahmani kingdom. So, this auxiliaries and bargis. The revenue affairs of the local level were in the hands of the Deccani Brahmanas. Some of the old Maratha families which rose in the service of the Bahmani rulers and held mansabs and jagirs from them were the more Nimbalkar, Ghadage, etc. Most of them were powerful zamindars or deshmukhs as they were called in the Deccan. However, unlike the Rajputs, none of them was an independent ruler or ruled over a large kingdom. Secondly, they were not the leaders of clans on whose backing and support they could depend. So they were not hereditary rulers. Hence, many of the Maratha Sardars appear to have been military adventurers who were prepared to shift their loyalty according to the prevailing wind. Nevertheless, the Marathas formed the backbone of the landed aristocracy of the Deccan and had a position similar to the one held by Rajputs in large parts of North India. During the middle of the 16th century, the rulers of the Deccan states embarked upon a different policy of winning over the Marathas to their side. The Maratha chiefs were accorded service and positions in all the three leading states of Deccan. Ibrahim Ali Shah of Bijapur, who ascended the throne in 1525, was the leading advocate of this policy. It is said that he entertained 30,000 Maratha auxiliaries Bardis in his army and showed great favor to the Marathas in the revenue system. He is supposed to have introduced Marathi in revenue accounts at all levels. Apart from increasing his favors to old families, a few other families such as the Bhosles, who had the family name of Ghorpade, the Dafles or Chawans, etc., also rose to prominence in Bijapur as a result of this policy. Maharashtrian Brahmins were regularly used for diplomatic negotiations as well. Thus, the title of Peshwa was accorded to a Brahmin, Kankoji Narsi, by the rulers of Ahmednagar. Marathas played an important role in the states of Ahmednagar and Golconda as well. It will thus be seen that the policy of allying with local landed and military classes have been initiated by the Deccani rulers even before such a policy was implemented by the Mughals under Akbar. So Mughals under Akbar were basically trying to negotiate and like repatriate the uh, Rajput rulers to their side in order by giving them more favorable mansabs or more favorable positions in their empire. And similarly, the rulers in Deccan were trying to pacify the Marathas to their side and doing the same thing, like giving them more valuable positions. But we can see that the rulers of the Deccan were doing it at a much more like they were doing it previously than the uh, Mughals. So, Mughal advance towards the Deccan. It was logical to expect a Mughal advance towards the Deccan after the consolidation of the empire in North India. Although the Vindhyas divided the north and the south, it was not an unsurmountable barrier. Travelers, merchandise, pilgrims, and wandering saints had always passed between the north and the south, making the two culturally one. Though each had its own distinctive cultural features, the conquest of the Deccan by the Tughlaqs and the improved communications between the north and the south had led to a strengthening of commercial and cultural relations between the two. After the decline of the Delhi Sultanate, many Sufi saints and persons in search of employment had migrated to the court of Bahmani rulers. Politically, also, the north and south were not isolated. As we have seen, the rulers of Gujarat and Malwa in the west and Odisha in the east have been continually involved in the politics of South India. Hence, after the conquest of the Malwa and Gujarat in the 60s and early 70s, the Mughal could hardly have kept themselves aloof from the Deccan politics. In 1576, a Mughal army invaded Khandesh and compelled the rulers of Khandesh to submit. However, urgent matters called Akbar elsewhere. For 12 years between 1586 and 1598, Akbar lived in Lahore, watching the northeastern situation. In the interval, affairs in the Deccan deteriorated. Deccan was a seething cauldron of politics. A war between the various Deccan states was a frequent occurrence. The death of rulers often led to a factional fights among the nobles, which each party trying to act as a kingmaker. In this hostility between the Deccanese and the newcomers, Afakis or Gharibs found free play. Among the Deccanese too, the Habashis, Abyssinians or Africans, and Afghans formed separate groups. These groups and factions had little contact with the life and culture of the people of the region. The process of the assimilation of the Marathas into the military and political system of the Deccan states, which had started earlier, did not make much headway. The rulers and the nobles therefore commanded little loyalty from the people. The situation was worsened by the sectarian conflicts and controversies. Towards the beginning of the century, Shiism became the state religion of Iran. So towards the beginning of the century, Shiism became the state religion of Iran under a new dynasty called the Safavid dynasty. Shiism had been a suppressed sect for a long time, and in the first flush of enthusiasm, the votaries of the new sect indulged in a great deal of persecution of their erstwhile opponents. As a result, members of many eminent families fled to India and sought shelter at the court of Akbar, who made no distinction between the Shias and Sunnis. So the Deccan states, notably Golconda, adopted Shiism as a state religion. At the courts of Bijapur and Ahmednagar too, the Shiite party was strong but was able to prevail only from time to time. This resulted in heightened party strife. So there was also a internal strife going on between the sects of Islam, which are Shia and Sunni. So in the early start of the century, Shiism rose to prominence in Iran and was declared as a state religion. Similarly, the state of Golconda also declared Shiism as the state religion. Simultaneously, in Bijapur and Ahmednagar too, the Shiites were more powerful and more prominent, although there was an on and off situation going on. But because of this thing, there were many Shiites who fled from Iran and came to Akbar for patronage. Akbar basically made no decision between the Shias and Sunni, and he gave them shelter. Mahadavi i- ideas had also spread widely in the Deccan. The Muslims believed that in every epoch, a man from family of the Prophet will make an appearance and will strengthen the religion and make justice triumph. So I'll read it again. The Muslims believe that in every epoch, a man from the family of the Prophet will make an appearance and will strengthen the religion and make justice triumph. So basically, it's like somebody from the Prophet's family would appear from time to time, and that will be the person who will make justice, like people believe in justice more, and that will be a win for justice. Such a person was called the Mahdi. Although many Mahdis had appeared in different countries at different times, the end of the first millennium of Islam, which was due towards the end of the 16th century, had raised expectations throughout the Islamic world. In India, one Sayyid Muhammad, who was born at Jaunpur in the first half of the 15th century, proclaimed himself to be the Mahdi. Sayyid Muhammad traveled widely all over India and in the Islamic world and created a great enthusiasm. Uh, he established his dairas or circles in different parts of the country, including the Deccan, where his ideas found a fertile soil. The orthodox elements were bitterly opposed to Mahadevism as to Shiism, though there were no love lost between the two. The orthodox elements were as bitterly opposed to Mahadevism as to Shiism, though there was no love lost between the two. It was in this context that Akbar had put forward the concept of Sulh Kul. Sulh Kul is basically peace and harmony between people of different religions or different beliefs. He was afraid that the bitter sectarian rivalries prevailing in the Deccan age would spill over into the Mughal Empire. Akbar was also apprehensive of the growing power of the Portuguese. The Portuguese had been interfering in pilgrim traffic to Mecca, not sparing the royal ladies. In the territories, they were carrying on proselytizing activities which Akbar disliked. They were constantly trying to expand their positions on the mainland and had even tried to lay their hand on Surat, which was saved by the timely arrival of the Mughal commander. Akbar apparently felt that the coordination and pooling of the resources of the Deccan states under Mughal supervision would check, if not eliminate, the Portuguese danger. So he was trying to build a coordination between the Mughal and Deccani forces. He basically wanted to bring Deccan into his supervision so that he could have a greater control over Surat, which was being targeted upon by the Portuguese for its more commercial value. These were some of the factors which impelled Akbar to involve himself in the Deccani affairs. Conquest of Berar, Ahmednagar, and Khandesh. Akbar claimed suzerainty over the entire country. He was therefore keen that, like the Rajputs, rulers of the Deccan states should acknowledge his suzerainty. Embassies sent by him earlier suggesting that the Deccan states recognize his power and be friends with him did not, however, produce any positive results. It was obvious that the Deccan states would not accept Mughal suzerainty till the Mughals were in a position to exert military pressure on them. In 1591, Akbar launched a diplomatic offensive. He sent embassies to all the Deccan states inviting them to accept Mughal suzerainty. As might have been expected, none of the states accepted this offer, and the only exception being Khandesh, which was too near and exposed to the Mughals to resist. Burhan, the ruler of Ahmednagar, was rude to the Mughal envoy. The others only made promises of friendship. It seemed that Akbar was on the verge of making a definite move in the Deccan. The necessary opportunity was provided to him when factional fighting broke out among the Nizam Shahi nobles following the death of Burhan in 1595. There were four candidates for the throne backed by different parties. The strongest claim was that of Bahadur, son of deceased ruler Ibrahim Ali Shah too, the ruler of Bijar, was inclined to support his claim. Chand Bibi, who was a sister of Burhan, was the widow of the former ruler of Bijapur. They were also related. Chand Bibi, who was the sister of Burhan, was the widow of former ruler of Bijapur, who was Ibrahim's uncle. So Ibrahim is from Bijapur, okay, and Ibrahim's uncle's wife is Chand Bibi, who is the sister of Burhan, who was the ruler of Ahmednagar. So Ahmednagar and Bijapur actually came into a matrimonial relation or matrimonial pact. She was a remarkable woman and had virtually ruled the state for almost 10 years when Ibrahim Adil Shah was a minor. She had gone to Ahmednagar to condole and took up with vigor the cause of her nephew. It was against this background that the leaders of the rebel party, Deccanis, invited the Mughals to intervene. The struggle which now began was really a struggle between Bijapur and Mughals for the domination of Ahmednagar. The Mughal invasion was led by Prince Murad, who was the governor of Gujarat, and by Abdur Rahim Khan Khanan, the ruler of Khandesh, was asked to cooperate. Due to factional fights among the Ahmednagar nobles, the Mughals encountered little opposition till they reached the capital Ahmednagar. Chand Bibi shut herself in the fort with the boy King Bahadur. After a close siege of 4 months in which Chand Bibi played a valiant role, the two sides came to an agreement. It was agreed to cede Berar to the Mughals in return of their recognition of the claim of Bahadur. Mughal sovereignty was also recognized. This was in 1596. So basically, the Ahmednagar and Bijapur, these are the two kingdoms. Ahmednagar was Burhan, Burhan died, so the first claim or the most claim which was more supported was for Bahadur, right? So here we've read that Chand Bibi was a sister of Burhan. So Burhan had a sister called Chand Bibi, who was the widow of the former ruler of. So it was ruled by Chand Bibi's husband, but now since her husband's death, now Ibrahim Adil Shah was the ruler. Chand Bibi went to Ahmednagar to uh, console for his brother's death and was supporting her nephew. Uh, so, in order to safeguard Bahadur's claim and to safeguard the territory of Ahmednagar, Chand Bibi actually fought valiantly. And after a close siege of around 4 months, uh, there was an agreement between the two sides in which they ceded Berar to the Mughals, and also they wanted Mughals to recognize Bahadur's claim. However, Mughal suzerainty was also recognized later. The Mughal annexation of Bihar alarmed the Deccan states. They felt not without reason that Berar would give the Mughals a permanent foothold in the Deccan, which could be enlarged upon a time. Hence, they sided with Ahmednagar and created obstacles in the Mughals taking possession of Berar. Soon, a combined force of Bijapur, Golconda, and Ahmednagar, led by Bijapur commander, invaded Berar in strength. In a hard-fought battle in 1597, the Mughals defeated the Deccani force three times their number. The Bijapuri and Golconda forces now withdrew, leaving Chand Bibi alone to meet the situation. So Bijapur forces also left, although Bijapur belonged to Chand Bibi's uh, nephew. Although Chand Bibi was in favor of observing the Treaty of 1596, she could not stop harassing attacks on the Mughals in Berar by her nobles. This resulted in a second Mughal siege of Ahmednagar. In the absence of any help from any quarter, Chand Bibi opened negotiations with the Mughals. She was, however, accused of treachery by a hostile faction and murdered. Thus ended the life of one of the most romantic figures in Deccani politics, Chand Bibi. The Mughals now assaulted and captured Ahmednagar. The boy King Bahadur was sent to the fortress of Gwalior. Balaghat too was added to the empire, and a Mughal garrison was stationed at Ahmednagar. This was in 1600. The fall of Ahmednagar and the capture of Bahadur Nizam Shah did not solve Akbar's problem in the Deccan. There was now no Nizam Shahi prince or noble with sufficient standing to negotiate with. At the same time, the Mughals were not inclined to advance beyond Ahmednagar or try to seize all the remaining territories of the state. The situation became further confused due to constant wrangling among the Mughal commanders. To study the situation on the spot, Akbar advanced into Malwa and then into Khandesh. There he learned that the new ruler of Khandesh had not shown due respect to Prince Daniel when he had passed through his territory on his way to Ahmednagar. Akbar was also keen to secure the fort of Asirgarh in Khandesh, which was reputed to be the strongest fort in Deccan. So this is Asirgarh Fort in Khandesh. After a tight siege and when a pestilence had broken out, the ruler came out and surrendered. Khandesh was incorporated in the Mughal Empire. After the capture of Asirgarh, Akbar returned to the north to deal with the rebellion of his son Salim. Although the conquest of Khandesh, Berar, and Balaghat and Mughal control over the fort of Ahmednagar were substantial achievements, the Mughal had yet to consolidate their position. Akbar was conscious that no lasting solution to the Deccan problem could be arrived at without an agreement with Bijapur. He therefore sent messages of assurances to Ibrahim Adil Shah, who offered to marry off his daughter to Prince Daniel, the youngest son of Akbar. But soon after the marriage, the prince died of excessive drinking. Ah. Thus, the situation in the Deccan remained nebulous and had to be tackled by Akbar's successor Jahangir. The rise of Malik Ambar and frustration of Mughal Empire at consolidation. After the fall of Ahmednagar and capture of Bahadur Nizam Shah by the Mughals, the state of Ahmednagar. So, after the fall of Ahmednagar and capture of Bahadur Nizam Shah by the Mughals, the state of Ahmednagar would have disintegrated and different parts of it would have, in all probability, been swallowed up by the neighboring states, but for the rise of a remarkable man, Malik Ambar. Malik Ambar was an Abyssinian born in Ethiopia. Ethiopia. We do not know much about we do not know much about his early life and career. It seems that his poor parents sold him at the slave market of Baghdad. In course of time, he was purchased by a merchant who treated him well and brought him to Deccan, which was a land of promise. Malik Ambar rose in the service of Genghis Khan, one of the famous and influential nobles of Murtaza, Murtaza Nizam Shah. When the Mughals invaded Ahmednagar, Ambar at first went to Bijapur to try his luck there, but he soon came back and enrolled himself in the powerful Habshi party, Abyssinian party, which was opposed to Chand Bibi. After the fall of Ahmednagar, Malik Ambar found a Nizami Shahi prince and, with the tacit support of the ruler of Bijapur, set him up as Murtaza Nizam Shah II, which with himself as the Peshwa, a title which had been common in Ahmednagar much earlier. Malik Ambar gathered around him a large band of Maratha troopers or Bargis. The Marathas were adept in rapid movements and in plundering and cutting off the supplies of the enemy troops. Although this guerrilla mode of warfare was traditional with the Marathas in the Deccan, the Mughals were not used to it. With the help of the Marathas, Ambar made it difficult for the Mughals to consolidate their position in Berar, Ahmednagar, and Balaghat. The Mughal commander in the Deccan at that time was Abdul Rahim Khanan, a shrewd and wily politician and an able soldier. He inflicted a crushing defeat on Ambar in 1601 in Telangana at a place called Nandir. However, he decided to make friends with Ambar since he considered it desirable that there should be some stability in the remaining of Nizam Shah kingdom. In his turn, Ambar also found it useful to cultivate the friendship of the Khan since it enabled him to deal with his internal rivals. However, after the death of Akbar, when the position of the Mughals of the Deccan became weak due to differences among the Mughal commanders, Ambar unleashed a fierce campaign to expel the Mughals from Berar, Balaghat, and Ahmednagar. In this enterprise, he was helped by Ibrahim Ali Shah, the ruler of Bijapur, who considered it necessary that the Nizam Shahi state should continue as a buffer between the Bijapur and the Mughals. He gave Ambar the powerful fort of Kandahar in Telangana for the residence of his family and for storing treasuries, provisions, etc. He also sent him 10,000 horsemen for whose support a definite tract of territory was to be set apart. The treaty was cemented by marriage alliance between the daughter of one of the leading utopian nobles of Bijapur with Malik Ambal. The marriage was celebrated in 1601 with great rejoicing. The Adil Shah giving a handsome dowry to the bride and spending out rupees 80,000 on fireworks alone. Fortified with the support of Bijapur and with the active and aid of Marathas, so he adds the support of Bijapur and Marathas, Ambar, Malik Ambar soon forced Khane Khan to retreat to Burhanpur. Thus by 1610, all the gains in the Deccan made by Akbar were lost. Although Jahangir sent Prince Parvez to the Deccan with a large army, he could not meet the challenge posed by Malik Ambar. Even Ahmednagar was lost, and Parvez had to conclude a disgraceful peace with Ambar. The affairs of Malik Ambar continued to prosper, and the Mughals were not able to reassert themselves as long as he had the solid support of Marathas and other elements in the Deccan. But in the course of time, Malik Ambar became arrogant and alienated his allies. The Khane Khanan, who had again been posted in the Mughal viceroy as the Mughal viceroy of the Deccan, took advantage of the situation and won over to his side a number of Habashis and Maratha nobles such as Jagdev Rai, Babaji Kate, Udhaji Ram, etc. Jahangir himself was well aware of the value of the Marathas, for he observed in his memoirs that the Marathas are a hardy lot and who are the center of resistance in the country. With the help of Maratha Sardars, Khalid Khan inflicted a crushing defeat on the combined forces of Ahmednagar, Bijapur, and Golconda in 1616. So he crushed them all in 1616. The Mughals occupied the new Nizam Shahi capital, Khirki, and burned all its buildings before they left. This defeat shook the Deccani alliance against the Mughals. However, Umar did not relax his efforts to complete the Khari Khan's victory. Jahangir sent a grand army under his prince Khurram, later Shah Jahan, and himself moved to Mandu to support the prince. Faced with this threat, Umar had no option but to submit. It is significant, however, that in the treaty, Jahangir did not try to enlarge the conquest made by Akbar in the Deccan. This was not due to any military weakness on the part of Jahangir, as he has been sometimes imagined, but due to deliberate policy. Apparently, Jahangir did not want to extend Mughal commitments in the Deccan or become too deeply embroiled in its affairs. Moreover, he was still hopeful that his moderation would enable the Deccani states to settle down and live in peace with the Mughals. As a part of his policy, Jahangir tried to win over Bijapur to his side and sent a gracious farman to Adil Shah calling him son. Oh, wow, son. Despite these reverses, Amber continued to lead the Deccani resistance against the. Despite these reverses, Amber continued to lead the Deccani resistance against the Mughal, and there was no peace in Deccan. However, 2 years later, the combined Deccani forces again suffered a severe defeat at the hands of Mughals. Amber had to restore all the Mughal territories and another 14 course of adjoining territory. The Deccani states had to pay an indemnity of rupees 5, it's 50 lakhs, 5 million. The credit for these victories was given to the Prince Shah Jahan Khurram. This second defeat coming so soon after the first finally shattered the united front of the Deccani states against the Mughals. The old rivalries among the Deccani states were now resumed. Amber conducted a series of campaigns against Bijapur for the recovery of Sholapur, which was a bone of contention between the two states. By a rapid movement, Amber reached the Bijapur capital, burnt the new capital of Nauraspur, built by Ibrahim Ali Shah, and forced him to flee to shelter to the fort. This might be regarded the climax of Amber's power. Ibrahim Ali Shah was the one who actually had entered into a matrimonial alliance with Amber by marrying off an Abyssinian daughter from his kingdom to Malik Amber, and he spent rupees 80K just on the fireworks, and this is what he got. Okay, moving on. Uh, This might be regarded as the climax of Amber's power. Although Amber showed remarkable military skill, energy, and determination, his achievements were short-lived due to his inability or unwillingness to come to terms with the Mughals. The chief significance of the rise of Amber, however, is that it represented a clear recognition of the importance of Marathas in Deccani affairs. The success of the Marathas under the leadership of Malik Amber gave them confidence, which enabled them to play an independent role later on. Malik Amber tried to improve the administration of the Nizam Shahi state by introducing total system of land revenue. He abolished the old system of giving lands on contract Izara, which was ruinous for the peasants, and adopted the Zabti system. After 1622, when the Deccan was in turmoil due to the rebellion of Prince Shah Jahan against Jahangir, Malik Amber was able to recover once again many of the old territories which had been ceded to the Mughals. So Shah Jahan was against his own father Jahangir, and Malik Amber took advantage of the situation by trying to recover most of the territories which were previously ceded to the Mughals. Jahangir's attempt at consolidating the Mughal position in the Deccan was thus frustrated. However, the long-range benefits to Ahmednagar for reopening the dispute with the Mughals may be considered doubtful. It led to a situation in which Shah Jahan decided that he had no alternative but to extinguish Ahmednagar as an independent state. Malik Ambar breathed his last in 1626 at the ripe age of 80, but the bitter fruits of his legacy had to be reaped by his successors. Extension of Ahmednagar, acceptance of Mughal suzerainty by Bijapur and Golconda. Shahnagar settled the throne in 1627, having commanded two expeditions to the Deccan as a prince and spent a considerable period in the Deccan during his rebellion against his father. Shah Jahan had much experience and personal knowledge of the Deccan and its politics. Shah Jahan's first concern as a ruler was to recover the territories in the Deccan which had been lost to Nizam Shahi ruler. For the purpose, he deputed an old and experienced noble, Khan Jahan Lodi. However, Khan Jahan Lodi failed in the enterprise and was recalled to the court. Shortly after, he rebelled and joined the Nizam Shah, who disputed him to expel the Mughals from the remaining portions of Berar and Balaghat. Giving asylum to a leading Mughal noble in this manner was a challenge which Shah Jahan could not ignore. It was clear that even after Malik Ambar's death, his policy of refusing to recognize the Mughal position in Berar and Balaghat was being continued by the Nizam Shahi ruler. Shah Jahan therefore came to the conclusion that there could be no peace for the Mughals in the Deccan as long as Ahmednagar continued to be an independent state. This was a major departure from the policy which had been followed by Akbar and Jahangir, who mostly kept themselves out from the Deccan affairs because they had different fronts of war open for them. However, Shah Jahan was not keen to extend Mughal territories in Deccan beyond what was absolutely necessary. He therefore wrote to the Bijapur ruler offering to cede to him roughly one-third of the Ahmednagar state if he would cooperate with the Mughals in the projected campaign against Ahmednagar. This was a shrewd move on the part of Shah Jahan to isolate Ahmednagar diplomatically and militarily. He also sent feelers to the various Maratha Sardars to join Mughal service. At first, Shah Jahan was successful in his overtures. Malik Ambar had defeated and killed some prominent Bijapuri nobles during his campaigns. Yadar Shah was also smarting at the revelation of the burning of Noraspur and the annexation of Sholapur by Malik Ambar. He therefore accepted Shah Jahan's proposal and posted an army at the Nizam Shahi border to cooperate with the Mughals. Around this time, Jadhav Rao, a prominent Maratha noble who had defected to the side of the Mughals during the reign of Jahangir, but had gone back to the service of Nizam Shah, was treacherously murdered on a charge of conspiring with the Mughals. As a result, Shahji Bhonsle, who was his son-in-law and the father of Shivaji, defected to the Mughal side along with his relations. I'll read it again. Around this time, Jadhav Rao, a prominent Maratha noble who had defected to the side of Mughals during the reign of Jahangir but had gone back to the service of Nizam Shah was recklessly murdered on a charge of conspiring with the Mughals. As a result, Shahji Bhosle, who was his son-in-law and father of Shivaji, defected to the Mughals side along with his relation. Shah Jahan accorded him a mansab of 5,000 and gave him Jagirs in the Poona region. A number of other prominent Maratha Sardars also joined Shah Jahan. In 1629, Shah Jahan deputed large armies against Ahmednagar, one of them to cooperate in the west in the Balaghat region and the other in the east in the Telangana region. The emperor himself moved to Burhanpur to coordinate their movements. Under relentless pressure, large parts of the Ahmednagar state were brought under Mughal occupation. Parenda, one of the last ports of the kingdom, was besieged. The Nizam Shah now sent a piteous appeal to the Adil Shah, stating that most of the kingdom was under Mughal occupation, and if Parenda fell, it would mean the end of Nizam Shahi dynasty. After which he warned would come the turn of Bijapur. A strong group of the Bijapur court had been uneasy at the steady Mughal advance in Ahmednagar. In fact, the Bijapuri forces at the border had merely watched the situation, taking no active part in the Mughal operations. The Mughals, on their part, had refused to hand over to the Adil Shah the areas allotted to him under the agreement, the one-third of Ahmednagar. As a result, Adil Shah made a somersault and decided to help the Nizam Shah, who agreed to surrender Sholapur to him. So it was a give and take situation. This turn in the political situation compelled the Mughals to raise the siege of Parenda and to retreat. However, the internal situation in Ahmednagar now turned in favor of the Mughals. Fath Khan, the son of Malik Ambar, had recently been appointed Peshwa by the Nizam Shah in the hope that he would be able to induce Shah Jahan to make peace. Instead, Fath Jahan opened secret negotiations with Shah Jahan and, at his instance, murdered the Nizam Shah. So he was a snake and put a puppet on the throne. He also read the khutbah and struck the I'm not sure what is it in the name of the Mughal emperor. As a reward, Fath Khan was taken in the Mughal service and the Jagir around Pune previously allotted to Shahji Bhosle was transferred to him. As a result, Shahji defected from the Mughal side. These events took place in the years not sure after the surrender of Fath Khan. Shah Jahan appointed some Khan as Mughal viceroy of the Deccan and himself returned to Agra. Mahabat Khan, okay, I guess it's Mahabat Khan, faced with the combined opposition of Bijapur and the local Nizam Shah nobles, including Shahji, found himself in a very difficult situation. Parenda surrendered to Bijapur, which made a strong bid for the fort of Daulatabad, as well as by offering a large sum of money to Fath Khan for surrendering the fort. Elsewhere also the Mughals found it difficult to hold on to their positions. It will thus be seen that the Mughals and the Bijapur were in reality engaged in a contest for dividing the prostrate body of Ahmednagar between themselves. The Adil Shah sent a large army under Randola Khan and Murari Pandit for the surrender of Daulatabad and for provisioning its garrison. Shahji also was enrolled in Bijapur service to harass the Mughals and cut off their supplies, but the combined operations of the Bijapuri forces and Shahji were of no avail. Mahabat Khan closely invested Daulatabad and forced the garrison to surrender. Sorry, it's a little cold over here, so I'm sorry for uh, the sound of it. The Nizam Shah was sent to prison in Gwalior. Makkah closely investigated Daulatabad and forced the garrison to surrender. The Nizam Shah was sent to prison in Gwalior. This marked the end of Nizam Shahi dynasty. However, did even this did not solve the problems facing the Mughals. Following the example of Malik Ambar, Shahji found a Nizam Shahi prince and raised him up as a ruler. The Adil Shah sent a force of 7 to 8,000 horsemen to aid Shahji and induced many of the Nizam Shahi nobles to surrender their forts to Shahji. Many disbanded Nizam Shahi soldiers joined Shahji, whose forces swelled to 20,000 horse. With these, he harassed the Mughals and took control of large portions of the Ahmednagar state. Shah Jahan now decided to give personal attention to the problem of Deccan. He realized that the crux of the situation was the attitude of Bijapur. He therefore recruited a large army to invade Bijapur and also sent feelers to the Adil Shah, offering to revive the earlier record of dividing territories of Ahmednagar between Bijapur and the Mughals. The policy of carrot and stick. Okay, this was a policy used not used by this was also used by the East India Company and the Britishers over India. The policy of carrot and stick and the advance of Shah Jahan to Deccan brought about another change in Bijapur politics. The leaders of the anti-Mughal group, including Murari Pandit, were displaced and killed, and a new treaty of Ahdnam was entered into with Shah Jahan. According to this treaty, the Adil Shah agreed to recognize Mughal sovereignty, to pay an indemnity of 20 lakhs of rupees and not to interfere in the affairs of Golconda, which was brought under Mughal protection. Any quarrel between Bijapur and Golconda was in the future to be referred to the Mughal emperor to his arbitration. The Adil Shah agreed to operate with the Mughals for reducing Shahji to submission, and if he agreed to join Bijapuri service, the Adil Shah agreed to cooperate with the Mughals for reducing Shahji to submission, and if he agreed to join Bijapuri service, to depute him in the south away from Mughal frontier. So Mughals were literally hostile of Shahji now. In return of for these territory worth about rupees 20 lakh hunts, about 80 lakh rupees annually, belonging to Ahmednagar, was ceded to Bijapur. Shah Jahan also sent to Adil Khan a solemn farman, impressed with the mark of the emperor's palm that the term of his this treaty would never be violated. Earlier, they have already violated it. Shah Jahan, you can see, referred to somebody as his son. I'll just see. Yeah, this is the one. Jahangir actually called Adil Shah his son. So, Shah Jahan completed the settlement of the Deccan by entering into treaty with Golconda as well. The ruler agreed to include the name of Shah Jahan in the khutbah and to exclude the name of Iranian emperor from it. The Qutub Shah was to be loyal to the emperor. The annual tribute of 4 lakh huns, which Golconda was previously paying to Bijapur, was remitted. Instead, it was required to pay 2 lakh huns annually to the Mughal emperor in return for his protection. The treaties of 1636 with Bijapur and Golconda were statesmanlike. In effect, they enabled Shah Jahan to realize the ultimate objective of Akbar. The suzerainty of the Mughal emperor was now accepted over the length and breadth of the country. Peace with the Mughals enabled the Deccan states to expand their territories towards the south and to attain a climax of their power and prosperity during the next 2 decades. In the decade following the treaties of 1636, Bijapur and Golconda overran the rich and fertile Karnataka area from the river Krishna to Tanjore and beyond. This area was ruled over by a number of petty Hindu principalities, many of them, such as the Nayaks of Tanjore, Jiji and Jinji and Madurai, owning nominal allegiance to the Rayal, the former ruler of Vijayanagar. A series of campaigns were conducted by the Bijapur and Golconda against these states. With the help of Shah Jahan, they agreed to divide the territories and the spoils against spoils gained by their armies in the proportion of 2:3 to Bijapur and 1:3 to Golconda. Despite frequent quarrels between the two, the task of conquest went ahead. Thus, in a short span of time, the territories of these two states more than doubled, and they reached the climax of their power and prosperity. If the rulers had been able to consolidate their hold over the areas they had conquered, Deccan would have seen a long era of peace. Unfortunately, the rapid expansion weakened whatever internal cohesion these states had. Ambitious nobles such as Shahji and his son Shivaji in Bijapur and Mir Jumla, the leading noble in Golconda, started carving out spheres of influence for themselves. The Mughals too found that the balance of power in Deccan had been upset and demanded a price for their benevolent neutrality during expansionist activities of the states. Demanded a price. The developments came to a head in 1656 following the death of Muhammad Ali Shah and the arrival of Aurangzeb as the Mughal viceroy of the Deccan. The, these developments would be dealt in a subsequent chapter. Cultural contributions of the Deccan state. The Deccan states had a number of cultural contributions to their credit. Ali Adil Shah loved to hold discussions with Hindu and Muslim saints and was called a Sufi. He invited Catholic missionaries to his court even before Akbar had done so. He had an excellent library to which he appointed the well-known Sanskrit scholar Vaman Pandit. Patronage of Sanskrit and Marathi was continued by his successors. The successor of Ali Adil Shah, Ibrahim Adil Shah too, ascended the throne at the age of 9. He was very solicitous of the poor and had a title of Abdullah Baba, or the friend of the poor. He was deeply interested in the music and composed a book called Kitab-e-Norus, in which songs were sent to various musical modes or rags. He burnt a new he built a new capital, Noraspur, in which a large number of musicians were invited to settle. In his songs, he freely invoked the goddess of music and learning, Saraswati. Due to his broad approach, he came to be called Jagat Guru. He accorded patronage to all, including Hindu saints and temples. This includes grants to Pandarpur, the center of worship of Vithoba, which became the center of Bhakti movement in Maharashtra. So, Vithoba. The broad tolerant policy followed by Ibrahim Adil Shah was continued under his successors. The important role played by the Maratha families in the service of the Ahmednagar state had already been mentioned. The Qutub Shahs too utilized the services of both Hindus and Muslims for military, administrative and diplomatic purposes. Under Ibrahim Qutub Shah, Murari Rao rose to position of Peshwa in the kingdom, a position which was second only to that of Mir Jumla or Wazir. The Nayak Waris, who formed the military come landed elements, had been a power in the kingdom ever since the foundation of the dynasty. From 1672 till its absorption by the Mughals in 1987. Okay. In 1987, eh, yes, this is something wrong, I guess. Not sure. The administrative and military affairs of the state were dominated by the brothers Madanna and Akanna. Golconda was the intellectual resort of the literary men. Sultan Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah, who was contemporary of Akbar, was very fond of literature and architecture. The Sultan was not only a great patron of art and literature but was a poet of no mean order. He wrote Dakhani Urdu, Persian, and Telugu and left an extensive divan or collection. He was the first to introduce the secular note in poetry. Apart from the praise of God and the Prophet, he wrote about nature, love, and the social life of his day. The growth of Urdu in its Dakhini form was significant development during this period. Dakhini Urdu, which is spoken in prominently in Hyderabad and the neighboring areas. The successors of Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah and many other poets and writers of the time adopted Urdu as a literary language. In addition to Persian, these writers drew on Hindi and Telugu for forms, idioms, and themes as well as vocabulary. Urdu was patronized at the Bijapuri court also. The poet laureate Nusrat Ali, who flourished during the middle of the 17th century, wrote a romantic tale about Prince Manohar, ruler of Karnataka. From the Deccan, Urdu came to North India in 18th century. Oh, in the field of architecture, Kuli Qutub Shah constructed many buildings, the most famous of which is the Charminar and the Golconda Fort. Completed in 1591 to 92, it stood at the center of the new city of Hyderabad, founded by Kuli Qutub Shah. It has four lofty arches facing the four directions. Its chief beauty are the four minarets, which are the four storied and are 48-meter high. The double screens of arches has fine carvings. The rulers of Bijapur consistently maintained a high standard and an impeccable taste in architecture. The most famous Bijapuri building of the period are Ibrahim Roza and the Gol Gumbaz. The former was a mausoleum for Ibrahim Adil Shah and shows the style at its best. The Gol Gumbaz was built in 1660, has the largest single dome ever constructed. All its proportions are harmonious, the large dome being balanced by tall, tapering minarets at the corner. It is said that the whisper at one side of the huge main room can be clearly heard at the end. This is what we have read in our standard social science textbooks in standard 7th and 8th. It will thus be seen that the Deccan states were able to maintain fine standards of communal harmony and also contributed in the fields of music, literature, and architecture. So, with this, we have come to an end of this chapter and we have finished chapter 14 of this very book, The Deccan and South India. So, that's it, guys. That's it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next. Till then, bye.